Question. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Outsiders. I am your host, Sean Sims, and what we're going to have today is we're going to have a dose, a huge dose, a big dose of the truth. What is really happening and what is really going on in Baltimore. And we're going to have a special guest. He's going to be coming on later. He's a former president of the Baltimore City Council, Lawrence Bell. Lawrence Bell is I would consider him a buddy of mine. And we're going to have him on to discuss what is going on in Baltimore and the antics that are taking place in Baltimore City. This new project, this harbor project that's going on, that's taking place, that there weren't multiple schematics that the community looked at. I didn't see multiple schematics, and I didn't hear any input, or I didn't see anything. It looks like they're just Slim Shady's trying to just cram this down the citizens' throat, just like the BG&E deal, and they're trying to rush this harbor place through with a guy Bramble. You got a blackface with high-powered white folks behind the blackface who's in front of the whole thing to fool you all and make you think Bramble's the whole big deal. I've heard he's actually a junior partner. He can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what's going on in Baltimore. We're going to have some international news, what's going on with this thing with Russia, Ukraine. There's a lot to this story people don't know about. Stay tuned on that. And before I get to it, I'm going to call someone out. Straight up, mano a mano. I wouldn't even say that. I would say man, more like the very, very young man who put on the big boy pants and is now the clerk of the court for Baltimore City. It's probably the third or fourth, I would say, prominent, highest, most important position within Baltimore City, even though it's a state agency. And I'm calling you out. I'm calling you out, Xavier Washington Conaway, whatever your name is. I've been trying to get in touch with this 24-year-old kid who got into office only on his name because he changed it at the last minute. Because that's what wimps do. They can't get in on their own accord. They have to run and hide behind somebody's skirt. And got in that way and left that building, kept those people in that building, in the Elijah Cummings building, October the 16th, kept those people, and it's a month to the day, locked in that building, his employees. And I've been trying to get in touch with him. I've called the office multiple times. I've left emails for him to answer. You are an elected official, and I'm calling you out. You are an elected official. Stop hiding behind your mommy's moo-moo. You are an elected official. You were voted in. Right, that was legit. Anyway, you were voted in, and you're in the office. And I'm calling you out right now. Answer the question. Did you, and why did you, but we know you kept them in the building. Older adults, and I hear people talking about rights of older adults and older adults this and older adults that and the seniors. There were seniors locked in the building. Where are you advocates for seniors? I didn't hear anything from you. You've been quiet. And you know who I'm talking to. I'm not going to name names. People were left in that building, and employees of the state, Westmore, haven't heard a clue, left in that building during an anthrax scare. And we're going to get to that as well. But I'm calling you out. Answer the question, Xavier. You want to put on the big boy pants. Why did you leave your employees locked in the building during an anthrax, fentanyl, biohazard threat. Why? Don't hide behind the desk. Get off your video games. Getting paid $120,000 a year to stay at home. Mostly he's hardly at work. Bishop Chatton has been dealing with this guy, trying to help the people there, the employees. Ask me, the union, what in the hell are you doing? Patrick Moran, Joe Cox, what are you guys doing? Nothing. This kid's going in roughshod, and you got employees you're supposed to represent. So I'm calling you out, kid. Answer the question. Why did you leave your employees locked into that building? Are you too much of a mouse? Too much of a wimp? Too yellow? Too much of a coward? That's what you are. You're a coward. Because you want to answer the question. You're an elected official. You get paid by the citizens, hard-working taxpayers in Baltimore City and the state, should say. They're a part of the state. They pay your big fat salary. So I'm going to continue with that later on, but you've been called out. Answer the question and stop running and hiding behind Sheila Dixon's skirt and your mother's moo-moo and answer the daggone question. But I digress. I will get back to that. The Ravens, let's get into sports. Talk about real men instead of these wimps. Oh, by the way, hey, Xavier, I hear that you and Brandon have a whole lot in common. Why don't you two have a candlelight dinner, and then you can talk over your strategies because of the crud things he's doing and the crud things you're doing. You can talk over the crud that you're doing to the citizens of Baltimore City. Maybe you can have that dinner. But let's get to the Ravens. Okay. My Ravens, I love my Ravens. They dropped the ball. Oh my goodness, they lost to the Browns. Now they're playing the Bengals. This is a podcast, so we're taped. So people will hear this tomorrow. Hopefully the Ravens will win. And utilize Keaton Mitchell some more and stop with the excuse he's a rookie. Tired of hearing it. He's a rookie. You got a weapon. Utilize him more, Harbaugh. Oh my goodness, a special teams coach who's a head coach. Oh, and the reason why we got to Super Bowl 47 and won it wasn't Jim Harbaugh because he's so brilliant. I'm going to go on record. It had nothing to do with Jim Harbaugh and him being brilliant. It had to do with Jim Caldwell. Caldwell, who was former head coach of the Colts, Indianapolis Colts, brought him in as the offensive coordinator, and then the Ravens took off after that. It wasn't Harbaugh. So I want to put that on record. And Harbaugh as a coach, I really don't think you're the sharpest knife in the drawer. You just had a good draw of just having really good players and good offensive coordinators for the most part around you, and defensive coordinators around you, and that's helped you. But you as a coach and your decision making is borderline horrific. So I want to get that out as well. But hoping and praying that the Ravens do well. That's my team. And I hope all of that goes well with what they're going to do. And I'm going to be giving him a call in just a little bit. I'll be giving him a call in just a little bit. And that's Lawrence Bell. Because I think he has a lot to say about what's going on. And I'm going to play a clip, because this show, we just roll. I'm going to play a clip. And this has to do with, I'll call this guy Giuseppe, because I don't know his name. I guess he's representing Sheriff Cogan at the event, November the 1st, the name change. First it was a town hall. Sheila called the event a town hall meeting. Then now she's naming it a listening session. I don't know what she's going to change the name to next, but I was there November the 1st, and this guy got up, Sheila called this guy to answer her question. The question was for her. And then she called this guy and pulled him into it because I guess she was too scared to fully answer the question herself, so she needed to pull somebody in. I don't know if she had him set up there or what. And then she goes, I didn't know he was going to ask that question. Says this to the guy, Giuseppe, from the sheriff's office. I didn't know he was going to ask that question. Like, why are you saying that? Why are you telling him that you didn't know that I was going to ask a question regarding the white powder and whether you would pull your people out of City Hall if the situation would happen if or when you were mayor? And you said you would have evacuated. Smart answer. And then for some reason you pull this guy in. So let's hear what he has to say. Some of his answers, or his answer. Let me cut one.
I need to say it again. It was not an anthrax. It was a powder of a substance.
Yeah, he said that there was a powder, that's a substance, because he has the thicker accent, which I had to listen very closely when I was listening to him explain the anthrax and the threat. So let me go on and continue this clip.
It was unwisely negative things. If it was anthrax, the firefighter will alert us around the scene immediately, and then the second protocol will have to be place, which will be evacuated at Parkway. We're not going to disrupt public service or crowd for something that...
We're not going to disrupt courthouse service. So they're not going to disrupt courthouse service for something that we know is an anthrax. So this guy literally says that, and I wish it was clearer because he was speaking so low and the sound in the room wasn't that good, but he literally says that people, the importance of people's lives, this is what he was inferring. The courthouse business, because they're not going to shut down the courthouse, they're not going to stop a business for the anthrax, what we think is anthrax. So he says this, and I'm standing there like, can you believe the cojones on this guy who's representing the sheriff's office, or he's part of the sheriff's office, saying that paperwork, courthouse business, paperwork, is more important than making sure and securing the safety, the health and safety and lives of people in the building, including citizens. I'm sure there were people from other places than just Baltimore City in the building. That was more important. So that's the message that Sam Cogan in his office has put across, that paperwork in courthouse building is more important than saving or make sure lives and protecting the lives of employees and citizens at that courthouse. It was disgrace, it was disgusting. And for those who didn't hear last week's show, go to iHeart, go to YouTube, the other Spotify, the others, and listen to the show, Amazon Music, and listen to the show and what was said. We did have Kevin Cartwright on. He is the communications director. He's a communications director for the fire department of Baltimore City. And he said he's going to look into it. I sent him an email as well. And he promised me that he was going to look at it. And my co-host, Doc Cheatham, as well. And Mary Hughes, wife of former State Senator Ralph Hughes. And promised that he would look into it. So, Kevin, we're waiting to get an answer to find out what's going on. And I'm going to go. I'm going to go to these promises that were made to employees, and they're not being kept. Let me go ahead and cut. Go ahead and cut. I want 2 on that.
But next step is to reach out and work with the current clerk to make sure we can get the transition moving as quickly as possible to understand what we're stepping into, because one of the things I want to make sure is done is to make sure that the employees that are working there know
that if there's an anthrax or biohazard threat, that you're going to lock them in the building. Let me go on.
That they're going to have a clerk in there who's going to be a partner to them.
A partner who's running roughshod, and from the information I'm getting, is just stripping people of their civil rights. And the business with this MDEC and the audit that was done on the MDEC. To put the MDEC in Baltimore City Courthouse, there was an audit done. Word I'm getting back, and didn't come out. The audit didn't go well. Did it, Xavier? Did the audit go well?
Understanding help is on the way, that they're going to have someone who's going to really make sure that they are taken care of.
That they're really taken care of by keeping them locked in a building during an anthrax fentanyl biohazard threat. And if there would have been anthrax or some type of other biohazard, there would be a major, huge, monstrous lawsuits coming if there would have been people who would have been hurt or died. Huge. Let me continue.
Receipts that are causing a staffing crisis, that's no better way to put it than a crisis. It's going to be addressed.
No, the crisis that should have been addressed, you stupid idiot, you dumbbell. The crisis that should have been addressed October the 16th, when there was a threat on people's lives. That should have been addressed.
And it's a high priority because nothing else can be fixed unless we address the staffing shortages, where we have at least 50 positions unfilled, including the deputy.
Unfilled? What is up with this? Kid got some type of, I don't know, borderline Tourette's or something. I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I'm making fun, not of people who have Tourette's. Okay, I'm making fun of him because this stupid idiot had people locked in a building. His employees for sure, because he could have gotten them out. So I am taking liberties, but don't get it twisted. With those who have Tourette's or any type of diseases and so on, I sympathize greatly. But this moron, I don't have any sympathy for him. Let me go on.
Clerk and as assistant deputy clerk, positions unfilled, and we need to make sure that we can go in and see what's happening and maybe possibly have an audit, if possible, to really...
Oh, an audit. Why don't you, since you're not telling the public who voted for your sorry ass, since you're not telling them anything, since you're hiding in your office behind a closed door, locked closed door, hiding, there is no open door policy. Since you're doing that, why don't you get out there and tell the public what's really going on? Or are you scared? You're a coward. You're yellow. Let me go on.
Find out where the money's being spent, where are the resources, and how we can get that.
You know what? That's a good question. Where is the money? They have a $30 million budget. Where is the money going? Where has it gone? What's going on there? Because there's absolutely, folks, there's no transparency. We talk about Brandon Scott, and we talk about Safe Streets, and we talk about these other organizations and how the mayor doesn't have any transparency or accountability. Here's another elected official who has no transparency and no accountability. Here's another one. Let's go on.
Align so we can step in day one, hit the ground running, and really try to get these problems fixed as quickly as possible and efficiently as possible.
I have to ask, this one of our viewers just asked this. Let's put this to rest.
Oh, this is Hassan Giordano. He's Ivan Bates. He works in Ivan Bates' office. He's supposed to be big-time stuff. I don't think so. I'm still waiting for that report, Hassan, that you promised me. And this is Political Regulators. You can pull us up on YouTube, Political Regulators. Sheila's a co-host, I guess, of this show. But I'll continue. And then I'm going to give Lawrence a call after I finish going through this.
Is your name Xavier Dixon or is it Xavier Conway?
No. You see what he said? Xavier Dixon. It's called a Freudian slip.
Is your name Xavier Dixon or is it Xavier Conway?
One thing we just need to bring back to the clerk's office, we need someone in there who's just going to be seen.
But we need somebody in there who's a 24-year-old kid who's never done jack in his life, never run anything, never done anything, almost fresh out of college, for an office that position to have 300 souls who he is responsible for and their livelihoods, firing people left and right. Could you imagine working somewhere and you've been working there for 15, 20, 30 years, 25 years, however long, you've been there, and then some kid gets in on his name and probably some funny business, gets in an office and he's letting you go and he's never done anything. He's making $120,000 a year, taxpayer money. And you people sit there and you take it and you let him do this? Oh, anyway, let's go on, and I'm going to get to Lawrence. Give him a call in a few minutes.
Be accessible. It's not going to sit on ivory tower and just talk down to the work.
How are you going to sit in an ivory tower, numbnuts, when the 4th floor is where your office is, and the 4th floor is where the other people work? They're on the 4th floor, at least in the Elijah Cummings building. I know there's the other building across the street. So how are you in an ivory tower when you're on the same floor?
First, we need someone who's just going to work with them shoulder to shoulder and make sure that people know that they're...
Are you working with them shoulder to shoulder? No, that's another lie. That's a lie. You know what? I think there needs to be an investigation on what's going on regarding the Maryland electronic court system not being implemented, a full investigation of what's going on with missing, I hear there's missing funds, I hear millions of dollars that was missing or reallocated back to the administrative office of the courts. People don't have pens and papers, didn't have them for a long time. Administrative people should have been hired, weren't. And they had maybe, what, $80,000, $90,000 year salaries? Multiple people. So that's a lot of money that's just swirling around that it looks like there could be some type of fiscal malfeasance. That's what I believe should happen. Especially you got a 24-year-old in there running things. I'm going to finish with this because I've had it with this stupid punk kid. I've had it with him. Who's running roughshod and hiding behind his mommy's muumuu and Sheila Dixon skirt and won't come out and tell people what's going on. But we'll deal with that. We're going to look into that more as well. Kevin Cartwright, the communications director of the fire department, hopefully he has gotten in touch with Xavier Washington Conaway, Sam Cogan as well, Audrey Carrion, who's the judge as well, at that court, to find out who made that call. Who made the call, who had the final decision and made that call to keep the people locked in that building during an anthrax fentanyl biohazard scare. So let me go ahead, I'm going to call him up, and that is Lawrence Bell, former president of City Council. He should be waiting now. I told him to be around. Right now it's about 2:37. I said 2:30. So let's see. Hello, Lawrence. Okay. We're showing that to pick up. Hello, Lawrence. Okay, let me call back a little bit. Okay, let me call Lawrence back in a little bit. But I digress. I'm going to go ahead and play. There was a civil rights. This is interesting. And I did speak with Doc Cheatham regarding this. There was a civil rights banquet. Banquet? I don't know. Dinner? Breakfast, I'm sorry. I'll get it right. Here it is, looking at my notes. Welcome to the 30th anniversary. There was a civil rights breakfast. I don't know if people know about this, but there is a Baltimore City office, Equity and Civil Rights. There's an office in Baltimore City called that. So I'm going to go ahead and play a clip of that. And I want you all to hear. This is very interesting. I guess civil rights is being upheld in such a high manner in Baltimore City. The people, they must feel safe at work. There's discrimination, harassment, sexual harassment, retaliation must be at an all-time low. I guess things are just all roses and sunshine. So I'm going to go ahead and play that clip.
We are so happy to welcome you to the 30th Civil Rights Breakfast. The The Office of Equity and Civil Rights and the City of Baltimore have been hosting this breakfast for 30 years. And this year, this is the largest room that we've had. Not just like the physical space, but the most full. Thank you. Chair.
Okay, I gotta interrupt this because Lawrence is calling. I guess he got through. Huh. Hey, Lawrence.
Hey, Don.
Hey, I just called. I didn't know if you picked up or not.
Yeah, I did pick up, but I couldn't hear you.
Oh, okay.
You want to stay on right here?
Yeah, we're good. We're doing the podcast now. I'm actually about 25 minutes in, so we're good. I'm gonna finish this segment I was doing. I want to get your comment on it, and then we can get into what we talked about earlier. But this was a civil rights breakfast given by the Equity and Civil Rights Office of Baltimore City. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but I just thought it was interesting, and Doc couldn't be on today. He was involved in something else going on. I said, no, don't worry, we'll deal with it next time. But he told me, he said that this civil rights breakfast, it's 30 years of this, he's never, the NAACP has never been invited. I said, well, how is it the NAACP, which Thurgood Marshall, our first black Supreme Court justice, was a part of, and the landmark decisions that were made with the NAACP involved for civil rights, how in the world is the NAACP not invited to this? And he said basically, they just don't invite them. They don't. So I'm going to go ahead and play this clip, and we can get to our segment. But I want to finish this out real quick for the folks.
Okay. You want me to hold on?
Yeah, just hold on, listen, because I want you to hear this. Okay, here we go.
2 and 3 Paul Murphy prayer. So let us pray. Disturb us, O Lord, that we shall not be able to remain silent in the face of injustice, falsehood, evil, and intemperance.
Now, I'm going to stop that. There was a prayer being said, and I agree with that. When it comes to injustice, when it comes to things that are being done wrong, people being mistreated, we should fight for those who, number one, can't fight for themselves, and those who have the means, have the skill set, they have the abilities, they have the finances, whatever they have, that they should fight for those who can't fight for themselves and they don't have the advantages and don't have the same skill sets that maybe you and I and other people may have. What do you think of that prayer that was said, at least part of it? Lawrence.
Yes.
What do you think?
What you're saying, you're talking about in terms of the equity office?
Yes, the lady just said a prayer about we should, stand up and fight for those and tell the truth. Basically what she said. And I believe that we should tell the truth.
Not even been a year ago, there was a study in Baltimore City about the utilization of MBEs, minority business enterprise businesses. And it doesn't look very good. So it's kind of interesting that they have these banquets and these awards. Negroes always pat each other on the back and give each other awards. But if you look at what and they kept this actually it was released, but the media didn't pick up on this. Now you know that in Baltimore City there's an MBE, minority business enterprise law, that says that when contracts are given out by the city of Baltimore, the general contractors have to subcontract at least 20% to minority businesses, right? It's supposed to help black folks and other minorities. Well, when they did this was not even, that's a year ago, really. It turns out that across the board, it's right now the utilization is about 12%. It's nowhere near where it's supposed to be. Most people don't know about this because the media hasn't really picked up on it. But the equity office is responsible. The law department, City Hall, the city solicitor, and all these folks, they're not doing their job right now.
She was there. The city solicitor was there at this breakfast.
Well, to ask you, what is the utilization, MBEs, percentage-wise, throughout the city of Baltimore, throughout all the departments and agencies? Now, the major one, of course, is going to be public works and transportation. All the departments okay, because that office is under the law department, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see to a number. What are the numbers right now? And I think that you'll be interested to hear the answers to that question.
Yeah, that's a good question. What are the numbers? And my thing is this, okay, I am acutely aware that in Baltimore City, there is a serious problem, and Bishop Barry Chapman, and I bring him up, he's going to be on the show. There's a serious issue going on, specifically at the Elijah Cummings building and the Circuit Court of retaliation, discrimination, firings going on, people being badly treated, Title VII being butchered. And not just there, but in other places of employment in the city government, there are horrific things that are going on. And so for me to see this civil rights breakfast thing, I'm thinking to myself, you know, this is kind of hypocritical. You're laughing and giggling and smiling, and like you just said, people are patting each other on the back, yet all these civil rights violations are taking place, and a lot of those people, now I'm not going to name names, but a lot of those people are either involved or complicit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so sad that here we are living at this time. We didn't, you know, it reminds me of, I remember years ago, when Terrence J. Mitchell was still alive. He was retired from Congress, but I used to talk to him, you know, when he was older, and he said to me once, he says, Lawrence, you know, he says, when I was in Congress, when he started in the early 70s, blacks they never imagined that they'd have over 50 members of the Congressional Black Caucus. The Black Caucus is the largest one in the United States, in the Congress. It's larger than the Women's Caucus, it's larger than the Hispanic Caucus, it's larger than all the others. And yet, they got more done when they had fewer people back in the early 70s than they do right now, because now so many of them are about being celebrities. You follow what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And the same kind of mentality is happening on the local level. You know, you have more black elected officials than ever. I mean, Baltimore City, black places and high places, the mayor's black, the president of the council, the comptroller, all these black people. But when it comes to nuts and bolts, that's really just follow the law. They're not doing it, and they get away with it because most people aren't aware. You know, they don't know. But again, when that report was put out, and I wish I had it in front of me, but you can find it. It shows you that the utilization, it was done by the way, it was contracted out by an outside independent auditor. They found that the city government is not empowering black contractors or black businesses at all. Very little, you know. But these same people will pat themselves on the back, and they'll have another. So, you know, it's too many social events. I think we have too much socializing. We need to be less socializing and more actual action on making this city more equitable and more equal.
I agree fully, and here's the thing, okay? People don't, just like you said, people don't know about that, but people aren't aware, and everyone who's listening on iHeartRadio, YouTube, Spotify, Amazon, I have with me on the podcast, The Outsiders, Lawrence Bell, former president of the Baltimore City Council. And here's the thing. There are elections, and people, they're not aware of this. There are elections, it's election time, and there are community association elections that are getting ready to take place. And I'm going to read a note here, a quick note that came across my desk, and that has to do with James Torrance's Director of Constituent Services, Sheena Ham, is president, and I guess this is an example, is president of the Parkway Bradish Association. Is that legitimate? Is that a conflict of interest? Because how can she represent the community and stay in favor with her boss if her community objects to the way he conducts businesses? So I think there's some type of conflict of interest with Sheena Ham, and she's James Torrance's, Councilman Torrance's Director of Constituent Services, but she's the president of a association.
I agree with you. Absolutely. You know, it's interesting. These guys are going around, these black elected officials, at least some of them, and they're trying to radically change these neighborhoods, because what they're really trying to do is get African Americans out of these communities. They're trying to pave the way for gentrification. This individual, I don't know how that president of Parkway. I do know that she's now on the way out. That's interesting. You see this communities. They're inserting people. They did it there in Parkway. They also did it in Ashburton. The President Ashburton, who's been a president, but he's been supportive of this, changes to the streets, all these kinds of gentrification things. He's now sold his house. And I understand Sheena is getting ready to leave there. So they were put there. They were placed in certain positions of leadership in these communities for a specific purpose. And now they're bailing out and they're leaving. So, I mean, I tell you, what's even worse than that? If you talk about Councilman Torrance, a few years ago he was saying, well, I want to help the Greater Madonna Coordinating Council. That's the group that's like an umbrella of all of the West Baltimore communities, neighborhood groups near Madonna Mall, the whole area. Well, we knew when he was saying this, when he said, we're going to get some money for you, what the purpose of it was to control it. So they now have a executive director who works out of the office they have in the mall, who's a white person. Now, I'm not against white people, but I'm telling you, how do you have a 95% black community? And they finance somebody from outside the community. They're also taking over the board. So, I mean, these are the kinds of tactics they use to just take over. You know, they have no respect at all for the people who are already living there. But they are, in a very insidious way, they are inserting these people into these positions of leadership so they can just take it over and basically prepare the community. I'll give you another example. You and I were talking about this earlier. There was a press conference yesterday, I believe, about in West Baltimore that there's going to be this new rec center, right? And here's the thing. These black elected leaders tore down, shut down and tore down, or going to tear down Westside Elementary School, right? And what sense does it make to tear down black schools, put up a rec center, but tear down the school where all these young people will go to be educated? How many young people that are having children are going to even move into the neighborhood when there's not a school there anymore? You see, this is the kind of stuff that they're doing.
Wow. And this type of stuff is going on. And here's the thing, okay, and this is my I guess, complaint, and that is that there are people who, when this sort of thing is in its embryonic stage and when it's conceived, they know about it. And instead of raising that red flag and letting their communities know about it, for instance, and I'll use one that's going on right now, that people don't know that there is outside regional authority that's ready to take over. Then this is Slim Shady again. First it was BG&E and our conduit, now it's our water. Take control of our water. I just got the email yesterday, and I'm looking at it going, what? How am I just finding out that there are on the verge, on the cusp, and I believe there was one last hearing or a meeting today, I believe at 6 o'clock, having to do with people who have any concerns about this, and it's the last hearing. That means after this hearing or this meeting today where people get to voice their opinion, that's going to be it, and they're going to ramrod. So here's Slim Shady again, here we go again, and then you're going to have a third party in control of the water in Baltimore City, and people don't know about it.
Dude, you got black elected officials. This generation, I hate to say it, is the worst I have ever seen in my entire life.
I agree.
Principals, they will sell out anything. What is happening, not only in Baltimore, but all over the country, is that there's a move to take to remove the assets from the city, right? And that didn't begin now. I mean, it even goes back as far back as when Don Safer became mayor, but there was always this understanding that as Baltimore was becoming blacker and blacker in the 70s, that eventually the hierarchy, just because of raw numbers, that
Okay, Lawrence, you there? I think the call dropped. Lawrence, you're still there. And right when he was going to say something so poignant and important. Lawrence.
98.
Okay, good. You're there. Your call dropped for a little bit.
Okay, yeah. I'm just saying that back in 97, 98, they moved to take Baltimore City schools and give it at least partly over to the state, you know.
Yes, I remember.
We're seeing this Jewel Hill Park. They're now friends of Jewel Hill Park, and these are people, you know, it is a private foundation, and they act as though they're in charge of a city asset. So this is going on as a way of basically taking power back from the population that lives here.
Well, I think, and you've mentioned it before, and I've looked at the stats and I've looked at what's going on, especially during COVID, when Brandon Slim Shady shut the city down for way too long, and we're the outsiders, but I get the inside information, and Lawrence, you know how I roll. I get the inside information, and I found out that, this is what I heard, that he shut the city down on purpose so the contractors and builders could get in and do some very large projects later. And now we're looking at this harbor thing that's going on, and you mentioned gentrification, getting rid of the folks, lower income folks, and you've got basically Baltimore sits on a property. It's waterfront property. Did you know Trump bought up a lot of property around Pigtown?
I've heard that.
Yeah,
I've heard that. It's a lot of value. The sad thing is that the inner harbor was always considered a public good for the public. It's owned by the city. I believe it's actually technically under the recreation parks. So, you know, back in the 80s when Schaefer had the harbor place built by Rouse, there was an agreement where that area was basically leased to Rouse to build, you know, for harbor place. But the design, all that was supposed to be for local people as well as for tourists. This new proposal is terrible. This new proposal basically says the last little area that you even can see the water, because so many of these private groups are taking over, so you don't even know the water's there. You know, you could be a few blocks away, you wouldn't even know there is any waterfront. But to say that you're going to build a tower for affluent people to live, you know, for their benefit, not for the public, I think it's a disgrace. It's really terrible. And one thing is the lies that were told along the way. You know, we have this developer who says he's having all these meetings with the community, get all the community involved. And one of the community is going to say, well, you know what we'd like you to do? Just build, give it all over to a private company so they can like lots of money, and people can have fun living on the waterfront. Actually, they're going to have to amend the height restriction so it's higher, blocks people's view of the water. And they're going to have to actually amend the actual charter of the city in order to do this. But again, what concerns me is that we got elected officials who walk around sometimes with a big afro, you know what I'm talking about, right? He's wearing his big afro, and I'm so concerned about the black community, but he's selling us out. You know, lock, stock, and barrel. He really is.
Well, I've been saying that since I've been on the air. My show started October last year, and I've been saying that the high top fade is being gradually cut down lower and lower, so he looks more normal. But what should have been done on that project is, first of all, there should be multiple concepts of what they're going to do with the area. You bring those concepts to the folks in the area, to the city, to the communities, so that they can look at which one they like is more favorable to the citizenry, to tourists coming in. But to have some big giant multi-condos, and you got one amphitheater, so what? And to have that, and without having the people's input, and having multiple concepts. And you remember, I'll give an example, and this is a simple example, but it makes a lot of sense. Remember when we purchased, the city purchased, or the owner purchased, Steve Bashad, purchased the Cleveland Browns. And then Steve Bashad purchased it from Art's family. But what happened? What happened? I remember they said, we're not going to name the team the Browns. It's not going to be the Baltimore Browns. We're going to go to the citizens, because I remember I was so excited. And we're going to ask them, what name should the team be? And then they came up with a vote, remember? And we picked the Ravens. That's the exact same way this should have been done. It should have been concepts made up. You go to the people, go to the community, and say, okay, which concept do you like the best?
Right.
And then they pick. But no, they're a bunch of control freaks, they're a bunch of elitists, and these contractors, and we had an issue with contractors before, with gift cards and a contractor, and that's another thing. So these contractors, and I'm segueing into this, Lawrence, because I think this is very important, considering we have a mayoral election coming up. I believe, and this is what I truly believe, that candidates should be looked at. All of them should be looked at, but the candidates who are not, and I repeat, this is in caps, are not the slaves of, are not, okay, connected to, and not in a position where they have to wink, wink, pay back the ones that are supporting them. They're not in bed with these people, the money people who are not backing their campaigns. You should look at people who are independent. When they come into office, they are not in a position where they have to wink, wink, pay back those who helped them get in. Candidates who are independent, not people who are beholden to groups who have funded them. Those people will turn, like Brandon, those people will turn on you. You're not why they're getting into office if they're being backed. You see what I'm saying with this, Lawrence?
Yeah, see, I agree with you. I mean, the thing is this, right? You know, I recognize that the business community is there, and that there are some accommodations that need to be made
of
for
course.
this community.
Yes, sure.
But that doesn't mean you have to sell out the whole city, lock, stock, and barrel. And what's happening is that these elected officials, including these black elected officials, no independence, they have no ideas at all for themselves, for the city, for the people, and they basically given the whole city over to people who just want to make money. And so as a result of that, we have, you know, let me tell you, I think sometimes that Brandon Scott's people, the people behind him, are so arrogant, and he is so wielding to them. They said that we think, you know, we need to have every street has to be cut in half, and we need to have a statue of a rhinoceros. And, you know, he said, oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, whatever you want, boss. I mean, that's the kind of mentality. Now, the other candidate, we know that she has been approached by business people who, my understanding is that they have basically given her a list of 25 things that she had to sign off on. So basically, she did sign off. So right now, she's only going to be a figurehead. She goes in there. Yep. They have already decided who's going to be appointed, who's going to be hired for all the different parts of the city. So basically, you know, they do this. And the thing about it is that, you know, I take, getting back to Harbor Place, for example, I don't understand why we could have just renovated Harbor Place. And remember what made it originally. Originally, it was designed for local businesses.
Yes.
You know, seafood, Baltimore. You had a Baltimore flavor, and people came down there. Tourists, when tourists come into Baltimore, they don't want to go see something that they can see in their own hometown. They want to see something that's unique.
Yeah, they don't want to go see a bunch of condos.
Selling out and let a private group from outside the city manage Harbor Place. That's when you start seeing Ripley's What the hell is Ripley's Believe It or Not doing inside of Harbor Place?
Yeah, I remember that. I never went in. I think I might have went in there once.
Ridiculous, right? Who's going to go there more than once?
Who cares?
Then H&M. You know, I like H&M, but H&M, you can go to the house and go to H&M. Why would you have that located inside of Harbor Place? So they basically sabotaged it, and that's because people gave over the ownership and control to people who just happen to have money. Like, they have very poor judgment, in my opinion.
I think that people, as far as tourists are concerned, I know that when I travel to different cities, I'm not saying to my wife, hey, you know what, let's go somewhere where they have really big condos on the water, because I just want to be around a lot of big condos. I mean, that's not what I'm looking to go. I'm looking, like you said, Baltimore has its own flavor. It's a town like Boston has its own flavor, New York has its own, LA, and instead of sticking to that, you're going to put up a bunch of condos. You're going to drive folk out And you're gonna, of course, it's for getting the real estate value up higher and making money. But what are you sacrificing to do it? What are you doing? Because who wants to be around?
Question, you ask people, do you think that if affluent people that live right on harbor, on the inner harbor, you think they want public people to be wandering around out in front of the condo or near the water? I mean, you just think about that. They're not gonna allow it to happen. They're not gonna allow it to happen. You're not gonna have the Constellation ship and other things come down there. It's gonna be privatized.
Yep.
That means that the whole city going all the way around the East Harbor, Oakland. But was kind of sacrosanct up until now. So again, I just think that you're absolutely right, Sean. The leadership is just so bad right now. I mean, it really is. I have never seen it this bad before. In my lifetime. There was an article in the Baltimore Banner recently that said that in the last 10 years, over 20 schools have been shut down in Baltimore. Nearly all of them in the black community. So obviously, the plan is not for the black community to remain and prosper. The idea is to get the black community out.
I agree. I agree. That's the plan. That's the plan. Yeah. You want to get black folks out. You want to take them out. Push them out to the county areas, and you want to have transportation that's going to easily get them out so they can basically be put in a position where you don't have a choice but to leave. And that's whether it's crime being high and those middle class folks, lower middle class or middle class folks who may have the means, it might take them a little time to get there, but they have the means eventually to move, and the city's population dropped below 600. I think it's dropping below 570. So the population keeps dropping.
Let me say this, it's not only black, but I would say also they're trying to get rid of working class whites.
Exactly.
They're marketing for white collar professionals who don't have kids. That's basically what it is, right? And so the population of the city is going down by design.
I believe that's exactly what's going on as well. And this mayor system, see, this strong mayor system I completely disagree with. It's a dictator system. You've got the board of estimates is stacked by the mayor. Brandon runs roughshod like a spoiled kid in Toys R Us, doing whatever he wants to do, and he's cleaning up. I believe Brandon is cleaning up. I mean, he looks like to be a one-term mayor as well as he should be. And you have, who are the candidates? I mean, no one's really looking at the other candidates. The media is pushing this narrative much to their disgrace. The media is pushing this two-candidate narrative, and I believe that both of them, Brandon has already shown that he's compromising a complete sellout. Sheila, as you just said, sign off on this 25-point issue. Well, she's going to be, if she gets in, she's already set it up to be a complete sellout. So you got two sellouts. That's what I'm going to call them. That's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to do a video, Lawrence. Thanks for the idea. You gave me a good... let's get to two sellouts, okay, with Baltimore City. And the other candidates, I think people should start to pivot and start looking, seriously looking into the direction of the other candidates and who's going to be a mayor that is going to be for the people. That's what they need to look at, not for special interests, not selling out prior to even, selling out the year prior. I mean, we're in 23, the election's 24, and she's already signed off on it. And I'm gonna ask her too. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna ask her about that. I asked Sheila to be on the show. I sent an email off to her. I'm sending emails and calling every single candidate, Lawrence, because I'm fair. I want to give unlike Fox 45, I want to give every candidate a chance to talk about their platform, what they want to do for the city, and that includes Brandon too. Every single one, because the outsiders, we're more fair and we're more balanced than anyone else. And Boy, that time went quick, Lawrence. I got to have you back on again. You know what I want to do? This is what I want to do. I'm brainstorming while I'm on air. I want us to do an in-depth interview, not on air, tape it, so we can just talk.
Okay.
And then I want to put that together because what you're saying is so important and people need to hear this, that the things that are going on in the city, the things that are happening with regular folk, just everyday regular hard-working folk, they don't get this information from our Baltimore media. They don't get it. They keep them in the dark, and the people who own these media outlets, they have financial stakes in what's going on. So
absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, let me say one thing real quick.
Sure.
I'm gonna leave this with the audience. I was talking to somebody the other day about this. If you want to understand why people are doing the things that they do, some of these decisions that don't make sense, remember the one phrase, follow the money.
Follow the money.
Who is making money off of these various things? And that's what we got to teach our people to begin to be able to decipher everything. Follow the money. That'll tell you everything you need to know.
Lawrence, thanks a ton for being on. It's been long in coming. That's my fault. That's on
I
me.
enjoy it, man. I'll be, anytime you need me, I'll be right here.
That's on me, but I'll talk to you later, and thanks for being on The Outsiders.
Sure, thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye. Okay, everyone, that was former president of the Baltimore City Council, Lawrence Bell. I consider him a friend, more than an acquaintance. Consider him a friend, and I want to get this story out. It has to do with Baltimore and every other city in the country. It has to do, this is a national story, and people need to know what's going on, because we don't. And I'm talking about what I spoken about earlier, and that is tens, I'm trying to get the figures right, okay, tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars, which could have been used here to help our poor, to help our homeless, for our citizens here, infrastructure, whatever. Instead of that money being spent here, it was given to Ukraine. And a narrative was painted that, and friends of mine who were in the military, we had discussions about Russia invading Ukraine and how that could turn into a World War III scenario, how our military could get involved. And they said, Sean, we believe Ukraine will win. I told them you were crazy. I mean, you know, good friends and everything, but you're off your rocker. Ukraine cannot beat Russia. They're on the border. It's called supply line war. That's why Napoleon went into Russia, tried to go to Moscow. The reason they lost, because of the cold and because the supply lines were stretched. This is warfare 101. And Russia's right there on the border. So they don't have a supply line issue. They have a much superior military. They're gonna wait it out, pound Ukraine. They're gonna pound them into submission, and then they're gonna finalize and take what land they want. So I want to get to this clip, and this is Colonel McGregor, and I think the guy is on point, and Judge Napolitano, and they are doing an interview, and I want everyone to hear what the real deal is and what's going on. Okay, cut 4.
The troops concentrated somewhere for an attack. I'm sure the Russians are watching carefully as they see evidence for any buildups. But that's going to be very, very tough right now because they have no air defense. They can't stop the incoming Russian missiles, rockets, and artillery. And the Russians can see everything effectively.
Now, this is Colonel McGregor talking about Ukraine. Now, remember I said I started this segment off by stating that tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars has been pumped into this black hole called Ukraine. And I believe the country should, defend themselves and And I don't exactly like the way things were done. There's more to this than, it's not just a one-sided story. There's always two sides. And Ukraine has the right to protect and defend themselves. But we as a country, that's not our problem. It's not. But let me go on.
Just this weekend from our own satellites. So I think the Ukrainians are kind of a standstill at the moment.
Here's a statement from a Ukrainian brigadier general. I don't know if you know him or know of him. Sergei Melnik told Spain's El País, P-A-I-S newspaper, that Ukraine has already lost most of its professional soldiers.
Stop. Did you hear that, Sterling? I'm talking to my buddy Sterling. Sterling, did you hear that? He was talking about how that Ukraine was going to whoop Russia. I told him he was nuts. No. They've lost almost all of their professional soldiers. Let's go on.
That Ukraine, here's a quote, will need, from the general, will need 4 to 6 times as many troops as Moscow has fielded in its ongoing military campaign, close quote.
So Ukraine, in order, I guess, to even break even in the war, to even hang with Russia, would need 4 to 6 times as many troops that Russia has fielded. That's insane. Let me go on.
If it is to break through Moscow's defenses. Colonel, 4 to 6 times, is it safe to say that it would be impossible for the Zelensky government to acquire that, if this estimate is accurate, that many additional troops?
Of course, Judge. We've said this before. Ukraine has no more chance of defeating Russia than Mexico would have a chance of defeating us in a war. We think that the Ukrainians have suffered probably more than 300,000 killed in action.
Stop. Colonel McGregor has stated that, in the information he's receiving, that Ukraine military has lost approximately 300,000 soldiers, fighters, troops have died. Let that number sink in. 300,000 troops, soldiers in Ukraine, not Russian soldiers, Ukrainian soldiers have died. Let me continue.
Now, we've had recent revelations, as you know, thanks to these documents, but quite recently we also had Cavoli, who's a Supreme Commander Europe, a 4-star general, is now admitting that it doesn't appear that very much damage is being done to the Russians. Gosh, I'm shocked.
There appears to be not much damage done to the Russians. We were hearing on our news media that the Russians were getting pounded. That's what we were hearing. The Russians were running, and they were scared, and they were running, and their military was no good, and they were leaving their tanks and running away, and people were going AWOL, and the soldiers were getting out of the military and running, and they were just getting vaporized. They were getting pummeled by the Ukrainian military, and from what Colonel McGregor is saying, that's not it. We were sold a bill of goods. Did he tell you that? So you're saying, okay, well, they're beating them, so we'll give them more money. Suckers.
And we've been saying that for months. Right. And yet now suddenly he begins to admit that whatever he's been saying to this point has been untrue. There doesn't seem to be much Ukrainian Air Force to speak of. And there is a rumor on the street here in Washington that President Biden has actually implied that he might be willing to fly U.S. aircraft in support of the Ukrainians. Now, I don't know how that would work.
Well, if he flies U.S. aircraft with U.S. pilots, they're fair game in war.
This is crazy. Now, from what Colonel McGregor is saying, there's rumors in D.C. that Biden wants to bring the military, our pilots, into this mess that they've lost. They can't win. They've lost. They're pumping billions and billions and billions into this money pit called Ukraine. And now he wants to do what? Now you want to get our people in jets to fly, I guess, missions in Ukraine? What is this, Vietnam? Let's go on.
Of course. Well, during the Korean War, to a lesser extent in Vietnam, but certainly during the Korean War, there were large numbers of Russians flying fighter aircraft in support of the North Koreans, and we shot them down. I would not be surprised if there was not an effort at least to consider putting U.S. pilots inside aircraft that had Ukrainian markings on them.
Oh my goodness. See, now you're talking about using U.S. military in this lost war. I told everyone, I'm a little familiar with modern warfare, how things work. And it's not even modern, it's just simple, it's called supply line war. I said that at the beginning. I said Russia's going to win, they're going to pound them for months, maybe a few years. We're just going to keep pounding them. And they're going to wear them down. The Ukrainians won't quit. They're fighters. And just like in MMA or any other sport, martial art, any type of battle situation, fight situation, if you have an enemy that won't quit, you just keep grounding and pounding. Or you keep grounding and pounding until they either pass out or they tap out. And the Ukrainians, I'll give it to them, are double tough. But you're not going to beat Russia. And that's billions of dollars that could have been used here. And what's going on over in Israel, Hamas, this world situation is starting to heat up. Starting to heat up, people. Gog and Magog, Ezekiel 38:39, looks like it's coming right around the corner. And it's going to get serious. It's going to get nasty, as nasty can be. So, better pray. You Christians out there, you better start doing some proselytizing. Yeah, letting people know, yes. There's a Savior, the way out. His name is Jesus Christ. On that note, that somber note, hopefully we will have the bank's report next week. Doc will be back next week. I'm not sure. It's going to be Thanksgiving, so I should say the week after Thanksgiving. I've got a video coming out. I'm going to be doing a video. It's coming out next week, probably Monday or Tuesday. And it's going to be a teaser about the following week as well. So everyone, thanks for listening to the Outsiders podcast. I'm your host, Sean Sims. And I'll tell you what, it's been quite a show. And I'm going to say, leave you on this note. God bless. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.